Everyone, this is Trevor Levinsky, and I am your fellow learner here in EDTC 0540. And welcome. Today we are going to be talking about subject matter experts and working with subject matter experts as instructional designers. So first off, what are subject matter experts? It's defined as a subject matter expert as a authority in a particular content area. He or she is identified early on in the project to clarify content, as well as provide support to the instructional designer throughout the development of the course. A little history of e-learning and instructional designers. First off, we start off with back in 1953, B.F. Skinner. He had the first programmed instruction regarding e-learning. And throughout this time period, moving forward in 1953, e-learning became more relevant, and the use and the desire and requirement for subject matter experts became so much stronger, where that separation from a e-learning designer or instructional designer to the subject matter expert and even to the facilitator of the course was separated. That line was no longer as blurred as it used to be. So we first introduced computers in 1963, and then finally computers in elementary schools in 1970, and then computer conferencing had now begun in 1988, and then first fully web-based courses in 1996, finally to first doctoral degrees offered in 2005. Now, proceeding forward into the year 2021, we have continued to push the barriers of what online learning is has allowed has allowed learning to continue to take on. Next is subject matter roles. So, as a subject matter expert, the role of the subject matter expert is to really map the path to competency development. So, the subject matter expert, or potentially the group of them, is responsible for mapping the path backward from the training goal to the training content. They'll work with the instructional designer to decide on best ways to achieve that required learning, like which activities are best suited for each objective. They collaborate with other training team members. In many cases, we'll need to work with instructional designers, learning technologists, facilitators, web videographers, graphic designers, branding managers, and even other subject matter experts. But really, their effective collaboration with the rest of the team isn't just an added benefit, it's essential part of the role and responsibilities of subject matter expert. Finally, they're going to third map the path to competency development. SMEs are required to provide rough content for more specialized team members to transform into high quality training materials. Now, what are the skills required of a subject matter expert? And I've graded these out of a score of 100. So, teamwork, being able to come together and work together as a part of a team to achieve a higher, more effective goal than they would be by themselves. Communication, absolutely, 90 out of 100. That communication is mandatory in order to ensure effective and ongoing communication between the subject matter expert and those other high stakeholders in that position. Finally, time management. So 70 out of 100, being able to manage their time, being able to ensure that they can still complete their day-to-day duties as a subject matter expert and do their role, as well as be able to invest the time to work with that instructional designer to put together the content. And finally, problem solving. There's going to be a variety of different problems that come up throughout the time and course of putting together the content. To build a problem solve is a utmost important. Now, what are some of the pros and cons of working with subject matter experts as a instructional designer? Well, some of the pros are, of course, they have field experience that greatly enhances any existing research that us as an instructional designer could accomplish. They will ensure accuracy of the content and knowledge of the current trends. They'll have ability to create activities that require higher level thinking, such as developing real world scenario based tasks. Now, there are some cons as well. So there is potentially some unfamiliarity between the instructional designer and subject matter experts, such as working styles, leading to potentially unclear timelines or expectations. There could be some preconceived notions on how the material should look and having some potential resistance to using content in new ways. Difficulty meeting and scheduling frequently if the SME works full time. That there is quite a big list of cons there. However, it's still very important to know that the cons do not get outweighed by the pros. So the pros heavily outweigh the cons. What are the top 3 best practices of subject matter experts? Well, first one is identifying a clear role with your subject matter expert. So the subject matter expert is a wealth of knowledge. The instructional designer, as us, we really need to know how to design the content in a way that is most beneficial to learning. So identifying clear roles throughout the workflow will make it easier for both the SME and the instructional designer to understand what is expected of them. These roles also acknowledge the expertise that both the SME and the subject or instructional designer both bring to the project. Second, best practice for working with an SME is build rapport. So the key here with the instructional designer and the SMEs to get to know each other is through rapport. Research from Georgia University explored competencies that are needed in order to succeed as an instructional designer, and one of the key ones they found was instructional designers need to have experience and have the ability to build rapport with their SMEs. This was achieved by understanding the SME's work schedule outside of their project, their role in the design process, and other responsibilities they may be juggling with their other full-time jobs. And finally, best practice number 3 is be open to feedback as a instructional designer. So both the subject matter expert and the instructional designer should be open to feedback from each other throughout the process. This feedback helps the content evolve and improve, and it helps develop that crucial rapport between the SME and the instructional designer. Small little pro tip here: assign a project manager to be essentially a mediator or a middle person to assist both parties. Now, how does SMEs pertain and relate to my Birchwood University alumni learning opportunity? Well, I've set them up in the 3 here. First one is content development. So for them to be able to go over the proposed content and ensure that they believe that it is relevant. And I love asking the question to a subject matter expert of what could go wrong. So if we set up this content, get them to come up with all the things that they think could go wrong with that particular content, and then help them and use their knowledge to be able to help us design curriculum. Second is the activities. This is a great opportunity for us to include them in the activity development. So a good best practice is already have the activity ready and then ask them to add in the content. So this is the activity we're going to do. Now, what kind of content can you, as a subject matter expert, recommend that we bring in to this activity? Ask them to solve a problem. So say, hey, this is an activity we already built from feedback from another subject matter expert. We're having a problem with this, even though there might not be a problem. Get them to fill that in, fix that problem for us. Get them to play devil's advocate. So same thing as well before. Get them to tell me, hey, what could go wrong with this activity? What could potentially fail with this activity? And then be able to work around that. And then finally, getting feedback from the subject matter experts as the program is continuing on. So have them included in the course evaluations. Make sure that they're getting the course evaluations. They understand what the course evaluation is about. Get them to share feedback after each session. So we're potentially having one session every quarter with the Birchwood U alumni program. So have them involved right after that session is done. The next day, get them on the horn, find out more about what they thought about that session, and then take action on their feedback. So they provide feedback, ensure we're taking action on it. In conclusion, thank you for listening today and for your continued support and feedback throughout the course. I genuinely want to say thanks again for the opportunity to provide this session for you today. And my name is Trevor Lubinsky, and you can reach me on my cell 204-297-7456 with any questions, or you can reach me via email address as well too. Thanks again, and